Hi guys, welcome to Simply Scuba. So in today's comparison video, we're going to be looking at the Scubapro Hyrdros Pro BCD and the Aqua Lung Outlaw BCD. So these are both kind of modular wing style BCDs. They're both kind of designed for the modern traveling diver. Obviously they're quite big boys, so I can't really have them both with the sort of at one time. So I'm going to be doing it individually, but in the same kind of concept. I'm going to be looking at the hardware, what you get with it, and then sort of the pros and cons of each BCD, and then right at the end I'm going to be coming up with a conclusion. So let's take a look at the Hyrdros Pro BCD and the Aqua Lung Outlaw BCD. Okay, so first of all, we're going to look at the general overview of the BCD. First of all, I'm looking at the Outlaw. So the Outlaw is a very lightweight, stripped down BCD. It's made for the traveling diver, but one of its biggest selling points is that it's completely modular. So the shoulder straps can be sort of unclipped to the point where it doesn't come in the box like this, it comes in pieces. You have to assemble it yourself, which is quite handy because you quickly get used to how it all works, and it just means that you can pack it down really small when you're traveling. So it's a real sort of custom BCD, but where that really sings is in that if you're not the standard sort of body shape, if you're sort of bodybuilder, you've got big shoulders, you can change the length and the size of your shoulder straps, but leave the back plate and the waist the same, or you can have a larger waistband and a taller back. You can completely customize exactly what shape the BCD is. So on the outside, so all of this is quite lightweight kind of mesh material. So this is quite soft against your back. This does dry off quite fast, which is nice. And because it's made for that traveling diver, they're thinking, well, realistically, you're just going to be in a rash vest, if anything. So they've made this very, very soft and comfortable, which does definitely come across. If it's a BCD made for cold water diving, then they're expecting you to be in a thick wetsuit or even a dry suit, so they tend to stinge on the padding, but this is very padded. This is almost like 1 centimeter thick, so it's soft and comfortable against your back. Very stripped down. We don't have any sort of metal D-rings. We've got a plastic carabiner on that with two sort of webbing daisy chains, even more daisy chains that are up around your shoulders. You do have an octo clip coming off sort of one of these little webbing loops, so that's a nice little feature. You don't have to sort of add any extra clips. The inflator itself, I'm all right with the inflator. It's not my favorite design. It does the job. You've got the inflate button, which is quite a sort of squidgy gray button, deflate on the tip. The corrugated hose I do quite like because it has this flare coming around it, which kind of integrates that, that low pressure inflator hose. So it makes it more of one item instead of two separates. Moving down, simple pinch clip. You've got a pinch clip across the chest as well. Big webbing loop to adjust those shoulder straps, and then that attaches quite far behind you, so that's quite ergonomic, gets that strap sort of right out the way. The waistbands, so these are hinged, they naturally kind of fall down in the video, but again, a little bit of padding. You've got a small amount of sort of attachment options there, and then a two-way pinch clip. But what you don't have is any kind of integrated weights that come as standard. You can opt for optional integrated weights, and they attach on here on this section. So you can add integrated weights if you want, but they don't come as standard with the BCD. The bladder on the back, so that has these retention straps, a little sort of section of sort of elasticated webbing. So that just means that when you deflate the wing, it naturally scrunches down. So that's quite nice. So you can have all this lift when you're on the surface, but when you're under the water, you want it quite compact, and that really does sort of shrink it in. Turning it around, you've got a pull dump over your left-hand shoulder. That's always handy. Grab handle at the top. There's no real solid back plate to this, so it is completely flexible. And what's really sort of holding it in position is that cam band, which is lower down, and that's a grip lock cam band from Aqua Lung. I really like this. So this is a two parts, sort of two-stage cam band. So instead of having to re-thread your cam band every single time. You just loop it over and then clamp it down, and it pauses. So as you're clamping it on your cylinder, it doesn't go the full 100%, so you don't get your fingers trapped. Gives you a chance to sort of wait, and then whilst your fingers are all out of the way, you do the final 10%. So that's a real nice sort of feature on that. As an overall, I do like the Outlaw. It's a little specified. It's specifically made for traveling. Would I use it in the UK? Probably not. But if you already have a BCD that you use at home, you can have like a heavier weight, sort of tough BCD. But then this one, because this outer material is only about 420 denier, it might be worth just having this as a travel BCD. It's lightweight, it packs down really flat, but it doesn't have a huge amount of lift, and it doesn't have a huge amount of sort of robustness. So yeah, in my eyes, it's more of a traveling BCD than a general all-rounder. But let's take a look at the Hyrdros Pro. Right, so the Hyrdros Pro. So the Hyrdros Pro is kind of similar looking. It's a wing style BCD. They have made it modular in that you can undo bolts. It's a little bit trickier though. You do need an Allen key. It's not quite as easy as it is on the Outlaw. So as far as quick customization, the Outlaw really sort of pegs it, but this one is still a little bit modular. Nowhere near the same amount of customizations. You can't adjust the length of the sort of shoulder straps or the waistband as you can on the Outlaw. But if something does get damaged and you need to replace it, you can swap it out. So it's a good feature, not quite as comprehensive as the Outlaw, but still it's there. The main selling point of this is this monoprene material. So instead of a sort of a webbing or that sort of mesh that you get on the Outlaw, it's this monoprene, which is the same as their fins. So it makes it really strong. It makes it hydrophobic, so it dries instantly, and it actually makes it a little bit tacky, so it kind of grabs it. Tacky is in sticky, not cheap. Tacky, it means that it's not going to roll around on your body quite as much, especially when it's wet. So, so that's quite a nice selling point in my sort of eyes. This BCD is really the pinnacle of their BCD range at the moment. So it's just chock-a-block with features all over it. From metal D-rings, it's got integrated weight systems, it's got sort of nice grommets, it's even got grommets on the underside. You can get all sorts of little accessories that you can bolt onto the BCD. Color kits as well, you can swap and chop and change these color kits to your heart's content. What you do get with the BCD, the Outlaw just comes as it is in a box with a box of instructions. The Hyrdros comes with a backpack that you can kind of put it in. It also comes with a sort of replacement waistband, which is if you don't want integrated weights, you can actually disassemble this and then just fit a basic webbing waistband. So if you really want a lighter weight sort of BCD, then you can go down that route. So other than that, very similar features to the Outlaw. I do like the inflator, Scubapro's New Balance power inflator. It's got a hinged button, so that's quite nice, big grey button, and pull that down for a pull dump. As I said earlier, D-rings all over the place, so you've always got some way to clip it off. You do get a bungee retention system similar to the one with the Outlaw, but what you do get on the Hyrdros Pro that you don't get with the Outlaw, the main bladder itself is kind of similar material as far as thickness, but you do get this protective shroud on the outside. So if you're going in and out of wrecks or sort of too close to reefs, then that's going to protect that bladder just on that side from sort of bumps and scrapes. On the back side, we have quite high pressure, high profile dumps compared to the low profile ones on the Outlaw. We do have a rigid back plate, so that's going to be quite nice. That really holds your cylinder in position, stops it from wiggling and moving around, so you're not going to feel quite as much roll compared to the Outlaw. And we also have a cinch cam band, which is similar to the cam band that you get on the Outlaw, but it doesn't have the finger saver feature. So when you're clamping it down, it's all or nothing. So just make sure that you get your sort of fingers free. And then either side of that, we have trim weight pockets. So it is a smart BCD. It's wing style. I wouldn't call it lightweight though. Because of all this monoprene, it's quite heavy, especially compared to the Outlaw. But this can be a good sort of all-rounder. So you can travel with it, but you can dive in the UK with it because it's got a bit of added protection. It's got those integrated weights and the trim pockets as well. It's that good sort of all-rounder. Okay, so now onto the specs of the Outlaw. So the Outlaw has 11 litres or 25 pounds of lift. It does come in 2 different bladder options elsewhere around the world, but here in the UK, sadly, we only get the 11 litre option. It does come in a 5 litre or 12 pound option, and that's a real stripped down, sort of compact little wing. So that is really, if you know your buoyancy and you don't sort of have too much, you're not diving down too deep, you just want a real stripped down BCD, then that's an option that you can go down. As of this point, we're only having the 25 pound wing here in the UK. As far as weight, incredibly light. This only weighs about 1.8 kilograms, so that's really not going to put a dent in your traveling. So that's a fantastic spec for it. The mod lock is this sort of mechanism, and it's basically how all the different straps attach and kind of bring it all together. It's universal across the Outlaw and the sort of newer Rogue, and all you need is basically the back end of a teaspoon or a flathead screwdriver just to undo it. So it's real quick and easy to adjust, and then reassembly, you don't need any tools whatsoever. Other than that, very lightweight, stripped down BCD. It has an RRP at the moment of 355 pounds. So we're seeing it's quite a stripped down BCD. It doesn't have those integrated weights. It doesn't have sort of all the other like big metal D-rings and things. So that does make it a lot cheaper, but bear in mind that yes, it doesn't have those integrated weights. It doesn't have trim weight pockets as standard. But let's take a look at the Hyrdros Pro. Right, now for the specs on the Hyrdros Pro. So as far as lift, you do get 2 different lift specs, but that's because it comes in both a men's and a women's version. This is the women's version, so it's ever so slightly smaller. This has 16.3 sort of litres or kilos of lift, compared to the 11 litres of the sort of largest bladder on the Outlaw. So it's got more lift, so you can just sort of hold up more weight. 36 pounds, or the men's version is 18.3 kilos, 40.5 pounds. So a little bit bigger bladder, and as you can see, it's all kind of lowered down, so it's made to keep you in a nice position. The weight is the real big difference. So the Outlaw was 1.8, this is 3.7, so a lot heavier, almost twice as heavy. So that really comes down to this monoprene material. It's not really trying too hard to be just a travel BCD. The Outlaw really is specializing just in traveling. The Hyrdros is a bit more of your all-rounder. RRP, bit more expensive, but you do have all these other features that I mentioned earlier. 609 pounds RRP, so it is more expensive, but you're getting your integrated weights, you're getting all the D-rings, you're getting all these sort of extra bits, you got the bag and all that kind of stuff. So more expensive, but nicer materials, a bit more robust, and all those sort of extra mounting options and features. A couple other things worth noting: neutrally buoyant thanks to this this monoprene, so that's quite handy. You don't have to worry too much about adjusting your buoyancy because the BCD is designed itself to be quite neutrally buoyant. And underneath here, the shoulder straps have a clever system which actually holds open the strap. They call it kit up assist. So instead of just a normal strap that just kind of gets out of the way and you have to try and get your way into it, this one actually holds that strap up whilst you're getting in, so it actually makes it a lot easier to get kitted up. Okay, so to bring it all together in a summary and a conclusion, so the Hyrdros Pro is an expensive BCD. It's got all the features that you can physically put onto a BCD, and it is fairly heavy, especially when compared to the lightweight Outlaw BCD. So as far as winners, I'm kind of giving it to the Hyrdros Pro because it's more of an all-rounder. But if you're looking for a lightweight travel BCD just to sort of go abroad with, then the Outlaw wins hands down. It's kind of horses for courses, depending on sort of what you need your BCD to do. If you know that you're never going to be diving in sort of colder waters and you just want a very lightweight BCD, then the Outlaw is definitely the way to go. But if you want a slightly more robust BCD and with more features that comes kind of fully spec'd when you first get it, then the Hyrdros Pro is the way to go. So there's no real overall winner, but as far as kind of what you need it for, just make your decision based on what kind of diver you are. But of course, in the comments below, let us know which BCD was your favorite and why. And of course, if you don't use either of those two, which BCD you use and why. Thanks for watching, guys, and safe diving. We are an online dive store serving the UK and the world for all your diving equipment needs. So why not visit us at simplyscuba.com or click the box on your screen.